Christmas Eve 2019 in Battersea, South London, Flamur Beqiri was making his way home from a meal with his wife and young child. Little did he know that a hitman had been waiting for him.
London's criminal underworld was shaken on Christmas Eve 2019 when Flamur Beqiri, a Swedish-Albanian man with alleged ties to organized crime, was gunned down on his doorstep in Battersea, southwest London. This brazen assassination, executed in front of his wife and young child, was not just a personal tragedy, but a significant event in the ongoing gang wars stretching from Sweden to the UK.
And I'm joined this morning by Chris Summers, who's a long-time crime reporter from the UK and editor of the Total Crime website, which has a ton of stories that Chris has reported over the years, so check it out. We'll put the link in the description for this.
Who was Flamur Beqiri?
Killing.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning. How are you doing? And yes, I'm in London, and that is where this terrible crime happened, in Battersea. I don't know if you know that, just on the south bank of the River Thames. Quite. I mean, I read up about it, and it used to be back in the day. It was a really working class area. It had a communist MP in the 1920s. Then all the sort of industry closed down, and it is in recent years very, very gentrified, and now you got sort of £1 million or £2 million town.
Flamur Beqiri was known in the music industry, but was also suspected of being a significant figure in international drug trafficking. His public persona as a music executive hid deeper connections to organized crime networks in Sweden and Albania. His family, including his brother, was deeply involved in the criminal underworld, with connections stretching from Scandinavia to the Balkans.
Beqiri fled Malmö for Britain with his family and a fellow gang member amid intensifying violence. In the Malmö underworld, his gang was known as the Alliance, who rivaled with another group led by a man known as the Boxer. Flamur Beqiri, a leading light in the Alliance, moved to London in 2017, bought the property in his wife's name for £1.7 million.
The Beqiri family's criminal history began in the Balkans, but expanded to Sweden, where they became known figures in organized crime. His brother, who was a significant player in Sweden's underworld, survived a targeted attack, but continued his operations. Flamur leveraged his music industry connections to facilitate drug trafficking networks across Europe.
Towards his front door. His wife and young child were already inside the house. What he didn't know was that a hitman, cold, calculated, and patient, was waiting for him in the shadows. Within seconds, Beqiri was gunned down in a hail of bullets.
Beqiri's murder was believed to be part of a tit-for-tat rivalry between two significant organized crime groups. These gangs, operating across Europe, were engaged in a violent struggle for control over drug trafficking routes and territories. The assassination was a calculated move in this ongoing conflict.
Son, he was walking between them, holding both of their hands as they walked back to their home. Alex opened the gate, and suddenly a dark figure appeared.
On the night of December 24th, 2019, as Beqiri returned home with his family, he was ambushed and shot multiple times by a masked gunman. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving Beqiri dead at the scene. The killer fled, leaving behind a community in shock and a complex investigation for the police.
Welcome to Crime Daily. A hitman found guilty of the gangland murder of a Swedish drug boss in front of his wife and children has been jailed for life with a minimum term of 35 years. Flamur Beqiri, 36, was freed.
Anis Hemisi, a professional kickboxer from Sweden, was identified as the assassin. Recruited by the rival gang, Hemisi was paid handsomely for the hit. He had conducted surveillance disguised as a street cleaner and changed disguises multiple times to avoid detection.
When the gunman turned up, they tried to kill him, but he passed his child to his wife and then ran away. His wife was subsequently shot in the head by the hitman, but his child survived, but he was never found since. I don't think they've actually caught him. He's on the run still, Nath. But
the hit on Beqiri was not a random act of violence. It was a meticulously planned operation involving multiple conspirators, including spotters and logistics coordinators. Hamisi had arrived in London days before the murder, renting an apartment and rehearsing his escape route. The Metropolitan Police launched an extensive investigation, analyzing CCTV footage and tracking the movements of suspects. They discovered that the hitman had conducted surveillance in the area days before the murder, disguised as a street cleaner, indicating a high level of planning and professionalism. The public was shocked by the audacity of the murder, especially given its execution in a residential area on Christmas Eve. Media coverage was extensive, and discussions about the influence of organized crime in London intensified. Law enforcement agencies in the UK and Sweden collaborated to dismantle the networks responsible for the assassination. Several individuals were arrested and prosecuted, showcasing the effectiveness of international cooperation in combating organized crime. During the trial, prosecutors laid out the chilling details of the assassination. Hamisi maintained his innocence, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. Surveillance footage, phone records, and forensic analysis all pointed to his involvement. Beqiri's death created a power vacuum within his organization, leading to further instability and violence as rival factions vied for control. The incident underscored the volatility of the criminal underworld and the constant threat of violence. Rival factions moved quickly to claim his territory and assets. His former associates either fled, were eliminated, or realigned with new power brokers in the criminal underworld. The assassination and its aftermath have been the subject of documentaries and news reports, reflecting society's fascination with organized crime and its consequences. The case serves as a stark reminder of the reach and ruthlessness of these criminal networks. Flamur's sister, Mise Beqiri, is a Swedish-Albanian model and television personality. She gained prominence through her appearances on the British reality TV series The Real Housewives of Cheshire, where she was featured in series 3 and 4. Mise's involvement in the show brought her into the public eye, showcasing her lifestyle and personal endeavors. Flamur Beqiri was married to Deborah Krasnicki, whom he met in the Netherlands while working in the music industry. The couple had a lavish wedding in Cernobbio by Lake Como, Italy. Deborah has maintained a relatively private life compared to her sister-in-law, focusing on her family and personal matters since the assassination, avoiding the public eye. Flamur Beqiri's assassination was a calculated act of violence that highlighted the dangers posed by international organized crime. The incident prompted a re-evaluation of law enforcement strategies and emphasized the need for continued vigilance against such threats.